Hello and welcome to another discussion in the Wars of Light and Shadow discussion group. We're working our way through the final book in the series. Sorry, I forgot to say the series is by author Janny Wurts. Song of the Mysteries is what we're reading right now. This is the last book in the series, and as always, we are reading approximately 100 or so pages every 2 weeks. It breaks down nicely into 3 chapters for 6 discussions. Today's discussion is going to be chapters 3 through 6. A lot happens. Some old
4 through 6.
4 through 6. Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
4 through 6. And Jared, thank you. So three. Sorry, damn it. Why do I keep doing that? 4 to 6, not 3 to 6. Chapters. Some old prophecies are revisited. Some many earthquakes happen. Lots to talk about. With me, of course, we have the usual group of friends. Jared, could you start with introductions?
Sure. You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel. You can find me on Speculation Podcast. You can find me on Film Chewing and on Panel Chewing and other places on pagechewing.com.
Nice. I like that you've got your announcement voice down now.
I protest. That was more of a closing statement, to telling people where he could be found instead of introducing himself. He just went right into, oh, well, you can find me here. He didn't introduce himself. You introduced him.
Noted.
Chibipo, show us how introductions are done.
I'm Chibi Po, and I have ice cream.
Okay.
Excellent.
And Chris.
Sorry, yeah, my name's Chris from the Chronicle of Chris YouTube channel, and most of the places that Jared mentioned beforehand, you can find me out there.
Very nice. So on we go to Arathon doing something with the flux and causing a lot of earthquakes. That's how this chapter starts, right? Right?
What a troublemaker.
What a troublemaker. And then Davian comes along and makes things worse. And...
I'm gonna say, like, he's in his 4th emo phase. 300 years.
4th emo phase. Yes, that is accurate.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, at the end of chapter 3, we saw him casting, mighty spells, what have you, and then we kind of get the quake, and it causes a lot of consternation amongst many factions, and then he kind of gets arrested, kind of on purpose. You think?
Yeah, because he wanted to do something with the bedrock of the city, and if he did magic, which everybody could detect right now, they'd be looking for him, but no one supposedly will look in the prisons, so that's where he went.
Yeah, well, he mentioned something about he wanted to bleed inside the walls again to fulfill his purpose.
Oh, I had that question. So apparently he bled twice before. Was the second time when he was dealing with the Kralovir? That wasn't in Etara, was it?
So he bled when he was stabbed by one of the Sobradans, obviously. And he bled on Earth was the other time, really?
For Etara, first time was either during the coronation, but I think it refers to the bit where Lysair, tossed the light at him.
That too?
Yes.
There. I think that might be the one. It's one of the two. The second time would have been the Kralovir, because, he was in Etara at that point. And then this would be the third. I have a note from Janny here, because I think we got to this page, just points out a proofreading error on page 249.
Okay.
There's an extra word. They printed phrases, it rose, but it should just be rose. that's for later, I guess. But
yeah,
she's
okay.
Shared that. So.
I shall go in and amend my copy.
If you have the hardcover,
through, sign it JW.
Yeah, if you have the hardcover, she does specify hardcover, so I don't know if it's fixed in the paperback.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Oh, cool. Lots of discussion around this part about whether there's casualties or whether there's not casualties, kind of getting people out of harm's way. I think that goes through these first two chapters, I think, a lot of time, especially when Davin sort of gets involved as well. And it sort of redraws the line. There's a lot of reference to the compact then, and actually what the compact says, and like stuff that we've discussed beforehand in terms of like the fellowship's responsibility towards humanity and the Praevians and all of that kind of stuff. And these chapters, I think, really are about setting the stage for the end in terms of the natural order of where everybody is in terms of what they're trying to achieve and whose side they're on in the battle, that kind of stuff, and who they're working for, as it turns out. In these stories, or who's really pulling the strings and all of that kind of stuff that's sort of been bubbling in the background. And I have to admit, I didn't expect so much of it to be at least teased and revealed in chapters 4 to 6, if you know what I mean. Sort of it had me thinking just in general about, okay, I thought a lot of stuff would come much later, but it's come here now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's only 12 chapters left in the whole big series, so
that is true.
We might have a lot of stuff to take care of in the next.
That's true.
The next, 400 pages or 500 pages or whatever it is, and I was just thinking about it because he says Atara must be leveled, and and it seems like the Bidar are kind of in cahoots with that assessment. Does that seem right?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm still not sure what the Bidar are actually playing at, what the old Crone's playing at. Like, we get hints at it, surely. But exactly what their end game is for me still up for discussion anyway.
That's kind of the idea I got in chapter 4 right away. Anyways, more stuff gets revealed later, but the and then Arathon plans to like break a dam as well to help with all this leveling and earthquakey stuff he's doing. All this stuff could be seen easily as the plans of some evil mastermind. And you're like, if looking from the outside in, and it makes you go back to the very first book. Like, is he the bad guy? We've been reading about him for 11 books now. We've been cheering for him a lot of the time. But if from the outside in looking at this stuff, you're like, this is not a good look.
I had exactly the same thought, Jared, in terms of that. Like, when Lysair is awakened by the curse of the magic again, the shadow magic again, you're like, maybe he's right all along to be trying to shut him down. Like, that is definitely. And if you had the thought, I had the thought. It's obviously intentional on Janny's part to get us to think that, in terms of who's good, who's bad, and especially when you get these sort of intersections between the Fellowship going, oh, things are happening. I can't believe they're doing that, and you're like, oh, but is it they're doing that good, or are they doing that bad? So there's a bit of an uncertainty as to motivations, which is very common throughout the entire series. Let's be honest. There's lots of these things you think, oh, they've lost the plot, can't root for them. But Arathon's a very difficult person to root for, especially because of how he treats Valera, how he's treating Tarans, and the people that are very close to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it just that even the sorcerers are wondering, did he go too far? Is Arathon going too far? And it just I think it's just really hitting harder now because we've had hints before, but you could always put those hints off to the other side, just doing their what do you call it? I'm at a loss for words this weekend. Doing their their social media, whatever you want to call it, and the,
Propaganda, did you?
propaganda. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Vasha. You could always put it off to the propaganda of the other side. That was a thing when we got all these hints throughout the whole series, but this time it's a lot harder to do that because I mean these are some really really big things, big events and big happenings, and who was it that really allowed for people to get away? Was it Davian?
I think it was the crone.
The crone?
It was the crone, yes.
So, sorry, go ahead, Jared.
No, go ahead, yeah.
So we got these scenes. I forget what part of what we read. It was towards the end of the last chapter that we read today, I think. We got this view of the Sanpashi crone. I don't fully understand how it works, but it seems like she's got like the space-time and parallel universes and everything. Like she can see them. She's got some higher dimensional vision, and then she's sort of plucking the events she wants to happen and putting them together, but in a way that would still make sense for this world and for the events that are happening right now. Because once she so Davian was examining all the survivors right afterwards, and to make sure that there was no loss in continuity, like I guess there are no tears in reality because of what the crone did. So I think she plucked them out from being alive in a different place, or she copied or something. She replicated the fact that they would stay alive onto this world. Like she made that happen through the destruction of Itara. That's what I understood.
The way I understand it is she has Davian precipitate the earthquake, and then the crone, the Bidar as a whole, can raise up power, and she basically looks at all the possibilities and plucks out the one she wants. Like you said. So she just looks for the possibility thread of this earthquake happened, but no one died in the earthquake. And superimposes that as the from a side possibility to the main possibility. Well, it would be a possibility at that point. So it turns it from possibility into reality.
Yeah, right.
And so the only two people who died were the stillborn child, due to a birth defect, I believe, and some old dude who just passed peacefully in his sleep.
Yeah.
I think those were the two.
The other thing that was interesting about the crone, by the way, that was really cool how she like does the pluck reality thing. I loved reading about that. But it may have been in the last set of chapters we read, but I hadn't gotten to it at that point. But the crone is sort of feeding Dakar some of his visions, I think. Did I understand that correctly? And which leads to the question of, has she always been doing that? Is that what happens when Dakar faints? The crone feeds him visions? Or is it right now when she's got a stake? It seems like she's always had a stake in events. We're just finding out about it now because of her involvement in like what we need to know at the moment. But that was interesting, Dakar's visions and how they were tied to the crone.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that and hadn't picked up on that part, but it certainly makes sense. And also in the context of, like, we spend a bit of time in these 3 chapters sort of redressing who people are and what powers they have and where they got them and kind of at what stage they got them, and that kind of thing, and actually what the powers and things are, especially when it comes to the fellowship. I know we'll probably come to that much later on in the chat here, but very definite answers rather than kind of just alluded to, as we've been sort of doing. And that's sort of why I say, like, I know we've only 12 chapters to go, but there was a lot of juicy stuff
Yeah.
dished out in
So
in,
much.
in these chapters, like stuff that I in some ways when I was reading it was like, well, this is actually totally way more interesting than whatever happens with Arathon and Lysair and all of that kind of stuff. Like things that we haven't thought about in books and books and books about why is that like that and that kind of stuff was all sort of revealed, and yet we have hardly seen the old crone throughout the 11 books. It's just been sort of like in the background. I mean, you never know how much she's pulling and pushing and pulling, and she's just been referred to, except again in these couple of chapters, very much to the fore and being the person that is like the ultimate sort of chess master in some ways because of probably her abilities and that kind of stuff to kind of say like, right, okay, I would like this to happen. And I mean, we used to talk about things like, what is Davian's motivations? It turns out that Davian's motivations were probably the Crone's motivations. He didn't have any say in it, that kind of stuff. So you get the sense of, there's way less players here at play than we actually thought, which is kind of what we were talking about maybe the last discussion, is like there's like 6 or 7 factions here all with their own thing, but actually some of them are more aligned than we thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Davian's bargain, that's a good point. Like what's going on there? 9 centuries, right? That's longer than the timeline of this series. We've been 500 years since the rebellion plus 300, so like maybe a century before. It is it possible that he started the rebellion because of whatever deal he had made with the crone? And I think the other fellowship sorcerers, they realized that he wanted to become discorporate, like that punishment. I guess like Arathon, like we talked about that when we last had that flashback scene where they were all telling him off for what he did, and he walked out angrily, and I was like, yeah, that's very reminiscent of Arathon. Read more into that, please. And here we are reading more into that. So yeah, Davian's motivations are interesting. Everything's and yeah, we find out about the knife too, what it can do. Do we want to talk about that now or come back to it later? Yeah. The so
Yeah.
we
Yeah, they
know.
spoke of that. They spoke of that
Uh-huh.
blade.
Go
That
knife
blade.
talk, yeah.
Yeah, at the end of
Yes.
chapter 5 there, yeah.
We know Arathon can use it exactly once, right? Or he needs to use it only once. But there are all these bindings that can be broken. And I'm thinking back to the prologue of the series, and it seems to me that it is a fellowship-free world. Um, so does that mean that the knife was used to release them from their oath with the
Oh, I hadn't thought about that possibility.
drakes?
Oh, I haven't thought about that either, yeah.
Well, it was
Or
interesting because I said to you last night and you hadn't read it yet, Forsha.
yeah,
To me, this revelation about the knife was actually quite different for Janny to do, because not only did she tell us directly what it did, but she gave us a couple of possibilities of things that it could be
yeah,
used for.
yes,
It was extremely explicit, and I was like, well, this is interesting that this is how you reveal this information,
yeah, yeah,
because it's almost like, again, that little puzzle box of, right, I've given you 2 of the things that it could be. It's obviously not
yeah,
those 2 things, but what else could it be used for? And this is where you're
yeah,
speculating. So please continue on.
yeah, yeah. I have a feeling that there'll be some higher level abstraction that Arathon can cut that will release all the things that were mentioned. But okay, so this is sort of a, what do I want to call it? World metaphysics question. Is the curse a binding that can be cut with the knife? Is
But that was one of my
yeah.
thoughts as well. Like I think that's where a lot of readers will go to, but also it seems inconsequential because we've seen that the curse can be broken or subverted in other ways at this point in
Yeah.
this book. Alethiel can help out with it. Obviously death has some movement to it. So, like, obviously we've been so concentrated throughout this book on if they could just be free of the curse, then things would be an awful lot better than this world. So it is where your brain goes to, but I feel it's highly unlikely. In the same, well, I've got some other thoughts about the Pravian things, but yeah, I'll step aside for the moment and just kind of back off.
Well, yeah, that's interesting, and I'm guessing it's not because the examples that were given are similar to the thing that Arathon's experience at that former Ath hostel was, which is his. I think oaths that you give explicitly are what break, because the other example was the Koryani initiate oaths that they can basically destroy the order by releasing all the sisters of their oath. So,
but again, there's another oath that we know can be subverted in another way. You know, Alera, if she had been offered the chance to be released from her oath, so the dagger wouldn't be needed at that stage, even though that's a very big change to the world. If the dagger wasn't used in that, then it is given to us, I think, because it's not that.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, but okay, sorry to step back a little bit, but the Sanpashir crone, she is so powerful. It's like Sethvir, what Sethvir has, but for space time instead of like just for Earth sense, and she can like pluck and Sethvir, or I don't think he can't. I think he chooses not to make specific things happen, but the crone is doing that, and I guess because she's outside the purview of the compact, she can do what she wants, which is pretty darn cool, unlike the Fellowship sorceress. Yeah.
But what can the sorcerers do if they don't like what she's doing? How, like, I'm just kind of curious because we know Ascendare has a lot of power as well, and I'm just curious, like, at what point are they going to come at odds where they might have to do something about the crone, and how much power does she have compared to them? And
think back to the first 3 chapters where she visits Sethvir, and he just defers to her.
Yeah, I know. But why? Why does he just defer to her in that manner? Is it just because of her power, or is it because
I believe
he can't
so.
act?
It's just, even if he did act, there wouldn't be anything he could actually do to stop her. Because I think in this set, when they're ruminating on it, they also remark about how they weren't even sure that the Paravians or the dragons could contest with her. And we know what the dragons can do, so...
Well, Chris brought up a point earlier that was really neat about her... What was that, Vasha? I forget. But her changing realities for the outcome of the earthquake. And I mean, that's what the dragons do, right? They can change realities, right?
They can change realities, but they're actively reweaving, the fabric of what is, So, like, they're similar things, but not really. I guess it's like they're actively warping, stuff right there in the present.
I'm guessing the dragons aren't bound by the possibility threads. I guess, like Chibipo mentioned, she has to pick one from the range of possibilities, and she's able to make a low probability event become the thing that happens. But I think the dragons can just, I don't know, turn unicorns into snakes or whatever, like, which may not even be possible. I'm guessing.
Yeah, essentially, like anything the dragons do is just like imagination. Yeah, they imagine it happens right there.
Okay. Whereas the crone is
life out of
picking and choosing. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like we're just gonna create these things right out of nothing. So
Wow. And yeah, and it's really cool that we're seeing all this big power stuff coming to a head here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying that stuff.
Yeah. There was something mentioned on in chapter 5 on uh something about if Arathon means destroy his opponents, the Light's holy war became inevitable when last spring's harmonic upsurge galvanized a plane of Arath. I think that's how you say that.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't. I couldn't remember what that meant when it said galvanize the plane of Arath.
So his goal as he sets out is to restore to Dion Ramon on the plane of Wraith um, the harmonic frequency that the centaur, or not the centaurs, the unicorns require to breed. Um, that frequency would reach a level that humans would not be able to trod there. You it no
Right.
longer be a matter of just you know you feel real creeped out here. It's like it would be actively dangerous for them, and uh, but that as a result of denying or setting that up, that would have all the townsfolk spooked and think they're being you know haunted and targeted and blah blah blah. And
Right.
much as
But
how they were all it's like no, the light will prevail against these haunts and these earthquakes and whatnot, and you know left without any obvious target um, to blame for it, they're going to just turn on the clansfolk and start their little crusades and holy wars up again.
right, but we haven't seen like he did that, but we haven't quite yet seen any kind of return to that area yet.
It is building. I think we get some of that um, here, and as to what Lysair is planning through these 3 chapters, if I'm not mistaken. Because I
Going
think,
to array.
yeah, with what he's planning to do. Because I think the 7 talk about it. Because Asandir's going to was going to cut them off from what he was planning to do, and then he got diverted with the Atara thing.
Okay. All right. And is that part of the reason why Itara has to be leveled? Was because the plane is just north of Atara, and is this all part of the plan?
Yeah, the pass where Atara is built. I've got the whole back up here. This one particular fellow back in Third Age 4994, while the Mistwraith's invasion was there, um, uh, plugged down in the pass and built himself a fortress there, and that eventually grew into the city of Atara.
Right.
Under compact and everything, it wasn't supposed to be allowed there because the pass is supposed to remain clear.
All right.
But the 7 allowed it in a hope that they'd be able to straighten things out later.
Right, because later on they mention the there's a mention of the Song of the Mysteries, roaring into full flower at midnight peak record. Human consciousness would be flayed. So it seems that this is all tied into some kind of return coming, where this Song of the Mysteries is kind of the power that the Paravians have.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of like the lane surges and everything reaching their full flower, being restored to how they're supposed to be.
Right.
So stuff we've seen, but just on a very low scale because of how human construction and whatnot affects the flow and obstructs the lane flow.
That's what I meant to say. Yes.
Yeah. This. I'm trying to think. So, shall we go back to what Arathon was trying to do in Itara? He, I guess, he used a shadow at some point, and that reawakened Lyser's curse.
Yes.
And Dace is really struggling to figure out how to get Lyser's curse under control. That
Yeah. Yeah. He kind of like woke up. He sensed that magic going off,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, because he
had his
uses shadow during the bits at the Severnir at the dam, and then I think he uses it again once briefly during the whole run through with Ethamon when he's trying to divert the diviner and their squad and all that.
Yeah, I like how after his outburst, him and Lysair and Dace have a new plan now.
yeah. Did you guys miss Lysair from the second and third books? I did like the speech he gave the religion people that he won't have his name tied to his faith, but the angry knowing what to do and making decisions based on what the curse is telling him. That Lysair, it little nostalgic entry.
Yes, Vasha, Team Lysair.
Team Lysair, yes. He's been on a bed for a while. We need Lysair back. Being angry at everybody. Yes.
Yeah, that definitely is more interesting than him being just laid up and not doing many actions. So yeah, that was cool to see. We'll see if it ends up being something really bad. We don't know yet, but I do like the fact that he's imposing his will upon the sect now, and not taking any crap from them,
including shooting fire or light bolts.
Yeah.
He heard a bunch of lancers, did he not, with his light?
Yeah.
What happened there? Did they charge him, or what led to him using light on them? I think they were about to hurt innocents. Go ahead.
There was, let's see, this is where he does that. He flipped out when they came in with the doctors, but I don't remember if that was these chapters or the last three.
Yeah.
And they flipped up the cloth covering his, eye socket and exposed it to light, and it's like super sensitive, and he just kind of went roar and smashed them, and then they word came about what was happening in Atara, and they wanted to parade him out, to as a figurehead, and he was having none of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And when they started getting uppity, he just swatted them.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but there was a point when he, I think there was some lancers or someone who were doing something to the townsfolk, and then he stopped them
at the river crossing.
Yeah, and then he passed judgment. I think the captain, he said, will be hanged, and then the others will be stripped of their rank, and all their stuff will be redistributed to the new recruits.
Yeah,
right.
They were trying to clear the at the river crossing, and the soldier, goaded by what's her face, Nails.
Yes,
Nails.
Can we just say that that for both in the last arc, last two books, and then this one, these people under the True Sect have the most pretentious and silly sounding names
Yes, we can say
got
that.
the hatchet, and
The
now we have
hatchet,
nails.
yeah.
The hatchet and the nail.
So
Wait.
pretentious.
I
Waiting
mean,
for that.
maybe it just illustrates that they came from carpentry and that kind of stuff. Lumberjacks. They were very working class people, and they just took their inspiration and their superhero names from their jobs.
They're fighting for the common man with their
Yeah,
names.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So rather than called Superman, just call me. What's this I've got in my hand? A hatchet. Call me
Yeah.
the Hatchet. Yeah.
But she's got no the in front of her name. So Nails is the hatchet and Vivian rolled into one because she's got some kind of Koreani what's the word I'm looking for?
Maybe that's a gender specific thing. If you're male, you get the.
Training. So
Mhm.
yeah, she had some
Oh.
Yeah, she's got a Coriani fetch.
Koreani training.
So,
Yeah.
little talisman that lets her lead Isaiah around like a horse on a leash.
Actually, something I did want to point out about, because we were obviously wondering about whether the curse was still present in Lycia. It did seem to me, and it might just be because of his awareness, that he was able to regain control an awful lot quicker now than he was earlier on in the book, where he was under the thrall of the curse while the shadow magic was being used, but nearly as soon as that stopped, he was able to rationally make sense of it. Now, that could be just because beforehand he wasn't aware of the curse, he was denying the existence of the curse, and therefore he just kind of thought his emotions were all one. But in this case, like Dace kind of points out, she could see when he was not affected, and sort of wondering about why he was doing what he was doing because she knew he was not affected. Thought it was an interesting point.
I think Dace, is able to, talk him around into coherency, but he still has, or at least seems like little to no ability or interest in actually resisting it. Dace, pretty much as soon as it takes over or gets provoked, Dace is just like, well, it's like all I can do is stand here and watch. In part because Nails would skewer her, but or him, but still, it's I don't know. We'll get answers to what's up with him. I'm sure.
And the other thing to point out about this as well, and again, this is a very Janny thing that she must have mentioned that this has got Sagan the heritage 4 times, 5 times or something in this, and these set of chapters and the latent gifts that go there with. In doing so, I thought that was interesting. Referred to Sagani blood or heritage quite a lot.
And Dace was given a little bit of magic from
Davian.
Somebody from Davian. It was a Davian, yeah.
I think it was Davian. Yeah.
Caradmon.
It was a Caradmon. That's right.
Yeah, Davian and Caradmon, but
They were together. Yeah,
stuff,
that's
yeah.
right. It's the Blues Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. And Dakar had some kind of vision about Nails. I forget what that was about.
Yeah, there were a couple of open-ended visions that didn't have a time, a place, a location, anything like that. I think Terrence had one as well. Again, unlike some of the other visions that we've had beforehand, that we could sort of say, "Oh, Arathon's and that is in danger." You get a very clear sense. These a lot of these were very open-ended, could be anywhere, happening to anybody.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that was about, but I didn't get there.
Yeah. Another thing interesting, and I don't know if we knew this for certain. We might have suspected it, but we got confirmation about why the dragons raised Avenor.
The skull thing?
The skulls, yeah. Did we know that beforehand, or was it just confirmed now?
I think we knew it when Sesh Grochi made Davian go there. And
Go there, yeah.
or like they had that conversation when I think Okay, this is how I remember it going. Davian wanted Shield to help with something, but then
Oh yes.
Yeah.
but then she just went here to raise Avenor to the ground because she was angry
That's
about
right.
those skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little what do you call it? What's that new show that the Dragon Prince? Something like that happens in that in that too.
Oh right. Okay.
So I wasn't sure if I was remembering correctly for this book or that story.
No,
It's
I remember that scene as well. Now it just shows you how much happens in these books that you kind of go, "Did
yeah.
I know that? Did I not know that? Did I? You know, did I suspect it, or was I told? Yeah, but I do remember that.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that scene.
And so
And
Lysa.
and also
Mhm.
bravo on the pronunciation of Crucial. I
Oh,
mean, this
thank you, Chris.
this is
I'm trying.
such good progress from books ago. You know,
So all you need to do is say the word 100 times, and eventually I will be
but
learning to pronounce it myself.
have you done the 10,000 hours pronouncing Crucial to be able to be complete mastery? I understand.
I'm gonna say yes. So it makes me look cooler, but well, actually, does it though? Does it make me look cooler that this is how I spent my life?
Yeah, with a very certain subset of people, you're very cool now because of it. Other people
That's
that
true.
you don't think you're cool, they don't matter anyway, Varsha. Don't matter. They
That's
don't
true.
care.
That's true. Absolutely right.
Is it time to talk about Callum Kincaid yet?
Callum Kincaid.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. But
And
sorry, before we go there, just one quick question. Lysa wants to go back to Avenor and rebuild. Is that what happened towards the end of that chapter? Because never mind, never mind. He was talking about something else that got burnt. The Itara. Because I got confused by that, but then I think I got it clarified as I was reading. It was Itara he wanted to reclaim because he's the mayor.
So I do actually have a question about that, actually, a bit like sir, because he is set on spending the true sect money, isn't that right? Of draining their coffers. That's part of his ploy at the moment, is to kind of dwindle their influence by taking away their source of funds, essentially. So he's basically saying, everybody has a drink on me. Chicken dinners all around.
Veterans get extra funds. Your families get things that they didn't give you before.
So he likes our good guy. Even me as a reader, I didn't get a chicken dinner. I didn't get a drink, and I'm thinking, see, he's not a bad fella. But this is what Al Capone did in Chicago. He used to buy lots of dinners for charities and stuff as well to kind of mask what he was really doing. So I'm wise.
You're wise.
Yeah.
And Arathon and Davian got in some kind of argument too after Itara was raised. And I don't remember what that was about.
Arathon's plan would have slowly driven everybody out of Atara. Like he was planning months, much further along. It was not him planning to just, level everything the way, did. By the time leveling everything happened, there would have been no one in Atara.
So what Arathon did was bring a giant construction machine and plant it right there and annoy the hell out of people with daily construction noises so that they would leave. But
yeah, with his thing, you'd had Moravian spirits, trotting through the city, a little minor earthquakes, and just the frequency being shifted up, making it just uncomfortable for everybody, and people were leaving.
But then Davian brought a giant sledgehammer and raised it all to the
Yes, exactly. Davian just went, no.
So as Miley Cyrus would have said, he came in like a wrecking ball. And
Yep, Miley Davian channeling his Miley Cyrus. More proof for you that they are all a boy band.
Oh man.
Okay. So, bad jokes. All right.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned boy bands, I'll be like, a demon boy band. What makes you think that will work? Dramatic poses. Oh yeah, that'll do it. 100%.
Oh yeah, the K-pop demon. I watched that movie. I enjoyed it.
That
that's
does not surprise me. That's good.
I will have more thoughts on that after we're done.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. But I like that scene that
Talking about
we see
an older boy band as somebody like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, the Fellowship, right? So the Fellowship, it turns out Callum Kincaid is Joshua Oppenheimer. Is that pretty much
Yeah.
what we got? Yeah.
Yeah. Oppenheimer.
He is
Not Joshua.
but
that's a filmmaker.
What was I mean, we kind of already had hints about that, but what was cool is that we get it now through Lorenda Hot Mess viewpoint. So that was actually kind of cool.
I mean, she literally finds a news clipping. It's like one of those scenes out of like a noir story or something where she goes, "What's this piece of paper wedged in between these other pieces of paper?" Pulls it out, and it's like the story of the 7 Fellowship saucers who were all mates, and they basically led the destruction of, could be Earth, but their planet basically in that. Therefore, sort of given some reason why this banning of weapons and combustible weapons and that kind of stuff has been outlawed and outlanded. And I have to say, I thought that revelation at this part of the book was like, that is amazing, because it also sort of sits outside of a fantasy story, if that makes sense. You know, it brings it into a sort of more real world and more thought provoking kind of way. And I like how Lorenda kind of is seen as a justification for their hypocrisy and all of that kind of stuff, but it also I think it plays in multi-level still, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, sure. It gives you a lot of it gives you a lot to take, like you're taken aback and like to reevaluate. You have to reevaluate everything, because you know, as much as we hated Moriel throughout all these books, you know, there is a reason she was doing what she was doing, because this guy Kincaid was a previous world destroyer, so
he's a war criminal.
Yeah.
Wait, did he actually? Okay, so there was something in there that made me wonder: did he actually do the destruction, or did he make the weapon and somebody else used it?
Yeah, that's why I called him Oppenheimer, because he literally invented the fusion. Wasn't that the phrase?
Yeah,
they led cutting edge. I think she referred to it as molecular, engineering, and there were various. What little we know of it, there were various intergalactic factions who wanted to take advantage of it and tried to pressure him and his research group into compliance. And in retaliation, he basically threw the information out there for everyone,
right,
including fringe groups, and that set off. Everybody had it,
right,
and they all started using it.
A chain reaction of events then happened.
Yeah,
chain reaction.
So he failed his wisdom check. I see. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that revelation, and again about, because this came earlier, this idea of how they were recruited, and about this in a spaceship flying across the galaxy by the dragons at that stage to manage the compact at that stage and given these powers. I think knowing that, while it doesn't change anything, it reframes what we think about the Fellowship, I think, quite a lot, if you know what I mean. Rather than these omniscient, kind of all-powerful group, they are kind of trapped a little bit, or trapped by the trauma of their memories and how back their friendship goes, even in some ways.
Yeah, and they also have they kind of have their own redemption arc going on, because they're definitely working to try not to have this happen again. Yeah, you're right. The whole reevaluating, rephrasing, and
they got the dragons were like, the one group of dragons, the protectorate, were like, the Pravians are going to die, and we don't want that, so we need something to fight these Drake spawn and whatnot, like the Great Gethorn and so forth. and so they did their dreaming to, find some masters of destruction, and since all the destruction that got unleashed on humanity, traces back to these guys, they matched that template of what they wanted perfectly. And then they get here and they meet the Pravians, and that helped them deal with the fact that they were all probably a bit suicidal when they arrived because of what their work had set in motion. Hence,
And I also think
Sandir, when he talked about how in Grand Conspiracy with the fishermen, and he explained that if humanity threatened the legitimately came to threaten the triggered the status of the Drakes binding on them, then they would have to wipe out humanity. Only this time they wouldn't be doing it as a accident. They'd be doing it in full awareness of what they were doing, with all the power and knowledge and awareness of how what they're doing affects the people and the land and everything.
Yep. So what do you guys think? Davian's free now, right? He took off his ring, slammed it down.
he mic dropped it. Yep.
Mike and he walked out. What's he gonna do now? Is he gonna rejoin the fellowship as a member who, after being shunned for 900 years?
So the black rose is blooming, right? And the black rose opens up the. I guess it's a necessary but not sufficient condition. But it's a precursor for the fellowship of the seven from becoming the seven again. And Sescrocia is stirring and might be waking up. So Luhane might come back, and Davian is free now. So I guess the boy band will be back together. They're going to do a last reunion tour
For the money.
For the money. I wasn't sure if I was using the right terminology there, but yes, that tracks.
For the money. All right, cool.
But sorry, before we move on from the Davian of it all, it seems that the crone, the purpose of the crone for having Davian raise Itara to the ground was some kind of test for Arathon.
Yeah.
She wanted him to stop and think about whether he would really do this, and instead he got all angry and decided to abdicate or whatever. And it seems that she could have, like Moriel, she could have made either situation work, but this told her something about Arathon.
Yeah, so didn't she make the point that if Arathon actually had used his initiative training, he would have actually seen the maneuvering and the things that had been happening to drive the events, rather than just sort of flying off the handle and, again, going full emo, and sort of doing that very teenagery, petulant thing that Arathon can sometimes do, of just sort of reacting to the situation rather than stepping back. And earlier, Arathon definitely would have stepped back. He was always felt like the smartest person in the building. But these deaths at the end of the last book do seem to have affected him an awful lot more than and sort of broken him to a certain extent, and in which case he can't sort of wait. He has to do this thing now. Things have to be done, and when things are messing and getting in his way, he is basically being very petulant about it and basically saying, well, if you're not going to let me do it, I'm not playing your game. I'm out. You can have your kingship, I'm not a pawn for you to play with. I'm trying to do things right, and you're messing with that natural order. And yet the crone very clearly wants this happen and seen this happen again, with the idea that she's prescient and she knows what's going to happen. She's been able to maneuver this situation, which of course we know nothing about, of why she would want that or why this is a good thing for her. but she's just sit back, smoking her cigar, and going, right, now the end game can begin because all the pieces are
we know what she wants. We know why the Beat are here.
The redemption for the necromancy stuff that
The
got
theft of their
free.
ancestral knowledge by the Coriani, and thus the extermination of the 3 lines of necromancy that exist, as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen one of those lines exterminated now, which leaves 2 more. And Arathan, because of his heritage, is the something from one of those Requiar's bloodline to tasked with being the one to resolve the whole issue, because they swore a vow in perpetuity, for that.
Corbrand's legacy.
Yeah. So we have so we have the Krellavir were destroyed, and that leaves the Coriani, and we assume the Mistwraith.
Oh, the mystery.
Well, it was because practitioners of necromancy and Coriani were the ones Renegade tossed through the South Gate, and they were the ones who ended up using technology to bridge and create it. So
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't make the mistake.
So her stuff is all like priming him to be the which she pretty much told him in the opening chapter. She's like, there's still 2 of those out there. You got to deal with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it says at the end of chapter 6 that she's done her part. Like she's the pieces are aligned, and now it's up. Free will would prevail to forge a result to annihilate or illuminate. So it seems like her purpose was to just make it so that it wasn't lopsided one way or another, and that free will would win out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Also, Arthan's free of an awful lot of obligations that come with his kingship, and things that have to happen. He can sort of has the time and energy to do what he wants, essentially through free will.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's talk about kingship and black roses and black roses bloom.
Yeah. So thank you for that correction. It seems that the crone made the black rose bloom, because there was this scene at the end of the chapter 6, just before the news items, that let me read it 1 second. Do it. Okay. Wait. Sanbashir's crone heard that plucked note. Her extended vision saw the resonant imprint of all that was flowering as rose in myriad form across epochs and worlds. From all of eternity's manifest shapes encompassed within that expanded frame, she recalled a species native to an arid planet called Skatak, and others perceived through Paravian eyes. And still others, an infinite prismatic overlay splintered from parallel universes where humanity's steps had never trodden. I guess that goes on for a bit, and then in the news items, we see that there are black roses blooming, which is making me think that she made that happen. Like, she interposed that species from this arid planet to Dan Ramon. And now the black rose is blooming, but not when he has embraced kingship, but when he has abdicated it. So what's up?
Well, maybe he's embraced a different type of kingship, maybe?
I wanted to bring up, consider she's been adamant all this time that this is not medieval, style kingship. And we've made the assumption, and you might even say the fellowship too, that his embracing kingship means he's going to embrace the kingship of Rethane. But what if whatever actions he took there, he did embrace kingship by abdicating, but it wasn't what the kingship everybody thinks it is?
Well, there was a little news item hint about the uncharted Isle of Lost Lear. Is that
That's what the Pravians are.
that's what the
Isn't it?
Paravians are?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So they're moving because the wards have come to behind the wards. That could be. Let's assume.
Well,
They've set sail.
yeah, and
They're on their way back.
it
Sorry.
prompted some High Queen Regents Council.
Oh,
That's what it prompted. And is that the High Queen region of where Arathon and Lysaea came from originally?
mm-mm.
No.
This is, I think, the Paravian Isle. I'm guessing, unless there's a different island where the Paravians are too. But I don't know the places mentioned here, but I'm guessing what it means is that from that island that Arathon found the Paravians in, they set sail to return to this continent.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's
Correct.
Tierin Deliant or whatever that is?
Is he some sort of Paravian king now then? Like, why are the queens and kings mentioned
A
here?
sun child. Okay.
We've met her before, actually.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, the sun child who granted Arathon the request to be free of the curse.
Mm-hmm.
That's who's convening the council.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. All
I
right.
think she's mentioned in Destiny's Conflict around the time when Arathon's on Lost Lear, where Calatus, because Arathon talks to her,
Yeah.
in his dreams that second time in Destiny's Conflict.
Okay.
Right before he leaves, as he's leaving the island, he's unconscious on the boat. And,
I thought it was funny. I thought this end of chapter 6 and these 3 news items almost felt like the end of the book. I was like,
yeah.
If the last book had ended at that point, you'd have been like, "Well, shit, what's next?"
Yeah.
The Paravians are on their way back, or at least some of them. Sorry, Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say right there. So, yeah, it's great. It's it really teases a lot to come in the next 12 chapters here. So
the questions for me are: so this change in the resonance of Athera, essentially, that has allowed the Pravians to come back. What else does that mean? Not just in terms of it's more the Pravians can come back, and obviously Pravians, humanity coexisting together, there are problems with, but also the people that have taken root in, say, Athera because of the change resonance, are they now put out? Do the conditions exist for them to still be there? Such as, say, Miss Wraith or whoever else, met snakes, whatever you kind of do, are they as strong in this world as now things have changed and slipped? That's the question for me.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been thinking he's sort of bringing the planet back to where it was before the incursion of the Mistrait, but it is possible that he's changing it to a different frequency that may now become untenable for humans.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like, what do they do now? Or
the dragons themselves. Like, this also coincided with Scotial awakening from a slumber. He's stirring. Now, he has been awake beforehand, but does this mean all dragons will come and coalesce at a point?
Yes. And also we know that Arathon knows the history of the Koryani, the human history, because of his time in the crystal, the Waystone, the Matrix, the Matrix of the crystal. But yeah, I wonder if unknown to Lyrenda. I don't know how to phrase that sentence, but without Lyrenda knowing, if Arathon, whatever his ultimate plan is, it also will allow the release of humanity and the fellowship. Might be giving him too much credit, but like if he's changing it to a thing that will allow them all to go away and the Paravians to exist without human intervention. Yeah. What other questions, Chris? Gimme.
No, that's my main question around this. Like, Pravians are coming. That's great. Boris is going to deal with unicorns, but
Yes.
this land ain't big enough for the both of us, kind of thing. You know that what changes? What does that mean?
Yeah,
In
but didn't
terms
they
of the
live
rest of the world?
together before
Yeah.
the curse too? I mean, that isn't that when, like back in the Gallant, when what's his name went mad and because of his exposure to the Paravians, and he wasn't, the people weren't supposed to go where the Paravians were, so they did live together on the planet at some point, just
they still
avoiding each other. You know,
they still have the Paravians have been hidden.
Yeah.
There was a whole. That was the whole point of the compact and the clans and everything, and was it's like, hey, you can stay here, but you have to give up these things, and you can only live in these certain places. And as we know, because that's what brought us to where we are now, factions of the humans didn't like that and had been plotting in secret for a millennia to overthrow that whole thing, so they could just build, and do whatever they wanted. Because we as a species are kind of bad about respecting limitations.
Yeah. Well, so the question is, are the Paravians just going to come back and settle for where they lived before? Or are they going to be like, no, we're gonna claim a bigger stake here or something like that? Or you guys are
Where do they
go
live
in the island now? We'll see.
Yeah, this is ours now. Get out.
Well, part of it, I would think, is like for the Paravians, it's kind of a solvable problem. They don't necessarily have to do anything; they just have to take back their, places that they were at before, because most humans can't survive in their presence. So, what are the humans going to do? You come out here, towards the field of unicorns, and all of you drop dead.
Yeah, but
humanity kind of solves the problem for them right there.
Look at those pretty unicorns. Oop, dead. Okay.
I don't think it's going to be that simple.
No. So what kingship has Arathon embraced? But also, just a moment moment of silence for this lovely line, and a shimmering pause that was silent hung over the arc of eternity when Arathon was playing his sadness.
Yes, full of regrets. Yes. Yeah. That is a somber note to end on.
Yes. Okay. Lots to look forward to. Much to find out about what the next chapter starts with a restatement of the Black Rose prophecy. So hopefully we'll find out exactly what kingship he has embraced right now.
Look at that.
So you're telling me you saw that news item about the Black Rose prophecy and you didn't take a peek into the next chapter?
I did not turn the page, no.
I deeply admire your sense of self-control.
Farsha, this is what normal people do. See when you when you've been given a reading assignment and it goes up to the end of chapter 6, you just stop because that's what you do.
I did, but I also took a peek. But I didn't read the chapter.
Which means you didn't. You just took a peek.
Yeah, I didn't read the chapter. I only read the epigraph, which was the prophecy again. Which was convenient because I would have gone looking for it in the first book otherwise, because I needed to know if I'd forgotten what the language was about the kingship, because or if it was tied to a different event.
There you go.
Okay. On that note, we'll continue next in 2 weeks with the next 3 chapters. If you'd like to join us for these discussions, you're welcome to. Of course, these are open to anyone interested, although I don't know who else is reading along with us at this point. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.